Welcome everyone to the Inside the Majors podcast for race week of the Majors 24 highlight of the year, best week of the year in the sim racing community. Thanks for coming along for the people that are here live and for listening in for the people that are catching up on the podcast later on. With me tonight we have our fearless leader Mike Ualete, which is not how you pronounce his name, but is an insight into how my brain is feeling at the moment. And also another competition committee member, Lynn Kinchlow. So good afternoon, evening, good night, gentlemen, whatever it is, where you are. How you doing?
Good. Thanks. Tired, so I shouldn't say good, but I'm doing great.
Can't think why.
Exactly.
So we'll be running through a few things over this podcast. We'll have a look back at the pre-Q week that's just gone, and then ahead to the weekend's racing. We've also got a couple of other things to do with the future of the major series, a summer series that's coming up, which Lynn will give us lots of information about, which will be kicking off very soon after the Majors 24, and also a team series that the Majors is going to start in the upcoming months. And then at the end, we're going to go through in detail the safety car process for this weekend, because a lot of people have been asking questions about it. People that are new to the race may not have experienced it before, so we'll go through that in plenty of detail for everybody. So there's a rough rundown of what we'll be doing in this podcast, but just some stats because I'm a data nerd from what's gone so far in the Majors 24. 688 teams will be taking to the grid this weekend, which is about a bit more than a 10% increase over the biggest field that we've ever had before. So that's great. 2,871 drivers, which is just nuts. It really is an amazing level for us to have gotten to. 4,577 qualifying attempts across all of the drivers we had in the past 10 days or so, where we had it, which raised more than $2,000 for charity. And a special shout out to Echelon Sim Sports, who between their 3 drivers did 45 qualifying attempts. So I hope you got the split that you wanted, guys, because you should put the effort in. So that's some amazing stats, Mike. Obviously, it's a big increase from last year. Obviously, it's being really, really well supported. You must be feeling pretty good about how things have gone so far.
Absolutely. Honestly, couldn't have dreamt of it being quite this big ever. And just in complete honesty, every year when we announce it and we start taking registrations, I'm always a little puckered over the idea of is nobody gonna register this year, and we will have done all of this work for nothing, but people keep coming back. So I'm glad and hopeful that they're enjoying it, and I'm really grateful and excited about the participation for sure. Insane.
Cool. I should have also mentioned Carter James was the individual that did the most pre-qual attempts with 18. Also, I'd like to recognise the overall poll winners for each of the classes. So we had BS Plus competition. They'll be starting from pole in the LMDH class in Split 1. And amongst their drivers, Nicholas Bowe set the fastest individual lap time of the week. So well done to those guys. In LMP2, WSR Esports have taken out pole. But I have to give a special mention to Alexander Spetz, who set the fastest individual lap of anybody in LMP2 this week, more than half a second faster than anybody else managed. So that's just an amazing effort. Anybody that's been doing prototype racing in iRacing for a while will recognise the name. We know that he's one of the mega stars as far as iRacing prototypes go. But still, to be a full half a second faster than anybody else, that's pretty amazing. And then also in GT3, the Grid and Go Esports team, with David Bozga, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, setting the fastest lap time of anybody, managing to beat his teammate Nicholas by 0.003 of a second to the fastest lap in a GT3. So, good luck to everybody else in the GT3 class in Split 1. Okay, so that's a bit of a rundown on some of the pre-qual stuff that we had. So well done to all of those teams and individuals. Now it's time to look forward. Race, the race is only, what are we? Quick maths in my head, about 60 hours away. So yeah, it's really catching up on us, or getting close. So yeah, things to do between now and the race itself. Mike, you can run down how they'll work, but there will be some safety car tests scheduled for people to get some experience with it, and for race control to have a trial of. And like I said, at the end of this podcast, we'll go through the full safety car process in detail. But maybe if you could just, what's the aim of the safety car test tomorrow, and what should people look out for, so if they want to get involved?
Yeah. So starting tomorrow, we'll have both two safety car tests. One that's will be for European prime time, and one for North American prime time. So there'll be more information posted in the Discord with passwords to the server, so they'll be password protected. But anybody that wants to get in, it'll still be first come, first serve. We hope to get a nice full grid and get folks seeing what the safety car process is going to be like for anybody that hasn't done it before. We're also starting tomorrow. We'll have intermixed amongst the individual practice sessions. We will have team practice sessions if you want to, just practice registering your team, getting your team car in there, making sure everybody's, set to go with setups and all that good stuff. So we'll run those for the last 48 hours before the race as well. And then, at the end of this podcast, we'll talk about in detail the safety car process itself and start taking questions on it. I'm sure there will be some.
Cool.
Oh, and just one point of clarification, Garen, on the pre-queue winners and poll, just so we don't get a lot of questions in the chat and confusion. Obviously, they were the fastest, but they don't necessarily have poll for the race. They got to earn that again. So, yep.
Sorry, that is a very good point. Yes. Provisional poll.
Provisional poll. There you go.
There we go. Yes, excellent. Okay, so we'll get into how the race day is going to run and some specific points that you want to raise about the races here in a sec, Mike. But one of the big things that's been spoken about since the splits were determined, a few people are concerned or not quite understanding the sandbagging stuff. So just look, I'd encourage everybody to go to read the rules again and understand what they mean. Don't panic. We're not out there to, you went 400ths faster than your qualifying time. You're clearly too fast or you didn't try hard enough in qualifying, or whatever it is. It's not that. So please, everybody read the rules again and understand what they mean. If you're in a lower split and there's somebody doing extremely fast lap times, that does not mean that they are sandbagging. The team has been put into that split. You might have somebody that's doing, 3-minute 21s in the GTP in a lower split, but their teammates are going to be several seconds a lap slower than them. So don't protest somebody as, they must be sandbagging because they're in a low split just because they're fast. Read the rules, understand what it means. We're not out there to try and penalize people for doing a good job. It's just there is a fail-safe for if somebody hasn't potentially done the right thing in terms of what they should do. So if you want to add anything there, Mike, please feel free. But yeah, I just wanted to allay people's fears that, yes, if you feel like you didn't quite extract what you needed to out of pre-qualifying, and trust me, I can sympathize. It took me 16 attempts to try and get a decent lap in myself. Apparently me and pressure don't go well together. But it's okay. If you haven't fully maximized yourself in your pre-qual, that doesn't mean that suddenly we're going to point fingers and come down hard on you for going fast in the race.
Right, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of people that are nervous about it for one reason or the other, and there's a lot of people that will be looking for it like everywhere, like needles in a haystack, trying to find people who are sandbagging. And the reality is that neither one of those things should actually be happening. You shouldn't be worried about it for all the reasons that you said, Garen. If you genuinely tried your best in pre-qualifying, I mean, honestly, if you genuinely did your best in pre-qualifying, there's virtually no chance you're going to be deemed as to be sandbagging in the race. We're looking for people who are markedly, significantly, obviously way faster than they were in pre-qualifying, and again, also way faster relative to the rest of the people in their in their split. We know that people can be faster from pre-qualifying to the race, and oftentimes that happens with track conditions and weather conditions and all that kind of stuff. But so just nothing to be fearful of. Just go out and run your race. If you gave it everything you had in pre-qualifying, you're definitely going to be fine. It's designed to catch the people who weren't, the people who wanted to demote themselves on purpose. And the rules, section 10 of the rulebook, outline very clearly what would constitute sandbagging. So as Garen mentioned, please understand those, and understand that if a team doesn't meet all three of those criteria, that it is not going to be considered sandbagging by us. So just be sure before you protest somebody that it does in fact meet all three of the criteria, and don't worry about yourself so much. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, lots of stress in the forums that or the Discord that didn't need to be there. It's okay, guys. Settle down. Don't panic. Okay. All right. So running of race day. Yeah, obviously there's not a huge number of changes in terms of the preparation and the run into the green flag itself from previous years, but with there's a huge number of people that we've got this year. Obviously hundreds of newbies. So Mike, what do we need to get people across ahead of Saturday
for race day?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so on the 6th, so tomorrow at the end of the day, GMT, UTC, we will close the ability for teams to withdraw drivers. And at that point, the splits will be final. And at that point, we will publish passwords for your split. You'll see that on the pre-qualifying page. So that little information box that's on the pre-qualifying page that doesn't have anything on it now will magically include your password. So you'll want to make sure you know it and somebody looks at it for your team. So that's number one. Number two, for the race itself, schedule's pretty cool. We maximize all 25 hours of the session that you can possibly have. And so the first 10-15 minutes of the day on race day on Saturday will be a driver's meeting that is mandatory for at least one driver per team. That'll be held in this channel, in the driver's meeting channel, driver's meeting stage here on Discord. And we'll have well over 1,000 people in attendance in that meeting. It's pretty neat. Anyway, following the meeting, go ahead.
Sorry, Mike. I'll just on that. Unlike a usual majors series round, just so that people are aware, you do not have to be off track during the driver's briefing.
Right. Yeah, true enough. You'll be okay to get yourself around for the next part of the race, which is the grid photo. So when the meeting starts, the grids will be launching, or the splits will be launching, servers will be launching. I'll get it right one of these times. The servers will be launching, and when they do, the driver who's going to be participating in the grid photo is more than welcome to get on track and start heading around to get in position for the grid photo at start finish. So basically, the first 20 minutes of the session, well, first 30 minutes of the session is practice. But I want to be real clear that this is not a time to practice. We've been doing that for 2 weeks. It exists solely for the grid photo. So don't be trying to make laps while the start finish line is packed with people. It is not a bowling alley. Anyway, also for the grid photo, it is an optional activity. You don't have to do it, but most people really get a kick out of it. Taking the photos, taking the screenshots, posting them to their socials, posting them to our Discord. It's honestly a pretty neat part of the morning. So, and it's our best job that we're trying to do to pay homage to the great race itself. So grid photo is awesome. So as soon as the driver's meeting starts and the servers launch, you're welcome to get out there and work your way around to the start finish line, where the GTPs will be at the front towards the start finish line, and the LMP2s will be behind them, and the GT3s will be at the back. And then you just start snapping photos. Anybody can start taking screenshots from any angle. Again, be creative. And post those. Please do post them. We want to see them. It's a neat part of the day. So that'll all happen at basically 20 after is our target that we start taking the photos. And then by the time 30 after comes, the practice portion of the server will be done, and it'll flip over to qualifying. Now we call it hyperpole, but really it's just a normal 4-lap lone qualifier, just like you did in pre-qualifying. The difference will simply be track state and weather. Will be nothing at all like you had for pre-qual. So just be aware of that. and make your best lap you can. Try to get the highest grid spot you can, because that's how you're going to be grid, is based on the hyperpole. You got 30 minutes to set 4 laps or 1 lap, whatever you want to do. And then at the top of the hour, 3 o'clock in sim, we go racing. So for 24 hours, and at that point, we're the ship has sailed. The only thing left to do is to know how to do protests, and we'll go over that at a later time. But that's the race day leading up to green flag. Did I miss anything,
Okay.
Aaron?
No, I think we're there. The only 2 things that I'll add to that is during the grid photo, don't put your car in reverse.
Right.
Or at least not for very long. We've had that before, where somebody went, "Oh, I'll reposition myself back there," or whatever, and they've reversed for too long and got disqualified. We can't fix it if you do that, so just don't reverse. And the other thing to mention is all classes go on the green flag
For the start of the race.
for the start of the race.
Almost. So I'm glad you brought that up, though. So on green flag, or at the start of the race, on formation, obviously the LMP2 and GT3 pole sitters will leave a 10-second gap to the last car in the class ahead, and and those classes will go on green. GTP leader will go once he clears the chicane fully, so it'll probably be after the green, but just barely. So you have to hold until you're on the straight. You can go as soon as you get to the straight, though.
There we go. Okay. All right. So is there anything else that you want to run over as far as during the race is concerned? Did you want to run through the process stuff now, or
No, probably not. It'll be. I need to have a little. Yeah, that's going to be a longer conversation, and we got to get the Discord channels. I will just say this: the protests will all be submitted in Discord. They're channels that you don't see currently, but basically you'll be putting protests in there, including a video file, not a replay file, but a video file, and best description you can. I'll have a whole process laid out for you in a post, so forthcoming. But yeah, it's entertainment to watch the protests come in. Let's just put it that way. Unless you're
okay.
doing
So
it.
everyone keep an eye. Well, that could be entertaining too, but yeah, keep an eye out for that information, and yeah, please don't just get in the Discord channels 6 hours into the race, having not looked at anything, and just go, "I need to do a protest. What do I do?" Educate yourself, read up, have somebody on your team that knows what's going on, at least one, and yeah, just sort of see if we can streamline that a bit, because yeah, the CCs are not going to have time, and the race control people are not going to have time to be answering questions for stuff like that.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. All right. So we'll get to the actual safety car process in detail at the end of this podcast, and talk a bit more about that then. But we might click over and have a chat with, in particular, Lynn, especially about the series that'll be filling the gap between the Majors 24 and the regular league races, which I think are back in July. But yeah, we've got a summer series going on. So Lynn, first off, hello again.
Hey, hi, hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. So the summer series, which let's give credit where it's due, was Lynn's baby, Lynn's idea, and he's the one that's done a lot of the prep work for setting it up. Give us an overview, Lynn, on what the summer series is about, and what people can sort of look forward to from it.
Well, I'll start with the main reason why we're doing it is last year, I believe it was, we switched over from a 14 race schedule to a 10 race schedule for the main game in the majors, and that doesn't include the majors 24, unfortunately. And what ended up resulting was a very long period of time where between essentially the Speedway 500 and then the next round, there was months and months of inactivity, and there was a lot of downtime. So uh, I thought, why not? Why don't we try putting a support series together that can fill that time gap? There's a history of secondary series in the majors before. Uh, one that comes to mind especially is John King's support series that would used to run the week before league races. And I think Wayne Hutchison had a IndyCar series at one point. So Robert Kobe and I, Robert's not a member of the CC, we got together and put together a couple of different schedules to put to the membership for a vote. And y'all decided on taking out the Superstar Racing Experience cars for some races. So there's a schedule on the main page of the website, so you can see all of the different races, and it's just going to be, in comparison to especially like the 24 hours, it's going to be a super laid back series. It's not going to cost you anything to enter. It's just going to be arrive and drive for 6 weeks, fixed setup. Should be super fun. We got some traditional short tracks on the schedule, plus a few IROC traditionals. We got a road course in there. We got a super speedway. We got a dirt track, and then some paved short tracks. So looking really forward to it. It's an opportunity to try out a car that we wouldn't normally get a chance to experience, and should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the SRX car, whilst a little bit unique, as you said, it runs across all sorts of different types of tracks and surfaces. But it makes it great racing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and honestly, it harkens back to the old days of IROC, and it's actually kind of neat that they're both going to be able to come back trails soon. So, pretty much just really simple. Again, no cost, big setups. Um, we're also going to take the opportunity to experiment with a couple of different things. Normally in the major series, we'll have what we call the spare car for normal iRacing nomenclature. That's your fast repair. We're going to take that away for the sub series just to see what kind of happens, and we're also going to experiment with some other stuff with the race format and all that jazz. Should be easy, in and out, 2 hours. You can run in either the Pacific or the Atlantic region races. We're going to run both the normal time slots, or you can run both. I think right now I'm just planning on putting them password protected. So if you sign up and you're on the roster when signups close, you'll get the passwords to both of the races, and you can jump in either. We'll count the points separately, and then we'll put a combined points together. See who's the best at the end of 6 rounds.
Yeah, and Mike also has been kind enough to offer coins for the series top 3 as well, which
Oh wow!
is not on the event page just at the moment, but there you go. So there is a little bit of a competitive element to it as well as just having a massive amount of fun in some cars that generate some giggles, or can do anyway. Obviously the 6 rounds where they'll be and what they are on the schedule page at the moment. But when will signups open up for that, Lynn?
So believe it or not, the signups will open pretty much right as the Majors 24 comes to a conclusion on next Sunday. We'll have the signups open each week, and then we'll close the signups about 6-7 hours before the Pacific round, so that way I know what kind of count to have the setups. And I'm aiming for ideally about 16 24 cars in each race. We'll probably also, if we end up with like a lot of people, we'll probably do some stake splits and shuffle things around. But hopefully we'll see a lot of people there. It'll be fun, I think.
Yeah. Okay. To the people that are listening live, if any of you have any questions about that, feel free to throw it in the ITM questions channel at the moment for Lynn while he's still here. Sorry, something just distracted me there. So is there anything that would exclude somebody from running from one or both regions, or swapping regions from one round to another, or anything like that, Lynn?
No. Like I said, the plan is to set them up as passworded sessions, and if you're signed up, we'll keep everything tallied off-site. So if you happen to be running in the main game majors, don't worry about swapping regions back and forth and accidentally losing all of your points in a pile, because I don't want to break the poor website. It's already seen enough torture for the past 7-10 days of signups.
It's been fine. Don't know what you're talking about. Nothing to see here. Website's fine. Yes, we've certainly learned a lot about how the way that the back end of or Mike in particular has learned a lot about the way that the back end of the site works under heavy strain and load. Okay. So, well, I mean, look, that summer series sounds like it's going to be a great little entertainer over the break, in air quotes, of the major series. jump in, as Lynn said, it's free to enter. Get in, have a bit of a crack at it. Even if you've never run a majors league race before, you're here for the 24, and it's all new to you. Investigate it, have a look at it. You're registered on the website now. You have to be as part of the 24 races, so you're eligible. And get behind it, and have some fun over the summer break.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And there's a little bit for everybody. Like I said, there's 3 major short tracks. We're going to go to Langley Speedway, Southern Nationals, some classic facilities there, Thompson, later on in the summer. And then we're also going to take a trip to Lime Rock Park, where, ironically enough, IROC is making a revival, and they're going to go to Lime Rock for a little bit of running. Then we're also going to have the Daytona. The main reason I picked a lot of these tracks is that they're either free or were places that have been commonly used in the majors, like Daytona, like Eldora, which, by the way, if you're looking to enter the World 100 later and you're a bit apprehensive about running dirt, our Summer Cup finale is at Eldora, so you get a chance to dip in for free and see what it feels like before you go in for the main game if you want.
Yeah, it's a great little segue back out of the summer series into the main one. So yeah, that's really cool. That'll be really good fun. Okay. Well, thanks for giving us that insight there, Lynn. And good luck with it all from next week. Everything's coming around so fast at the moment that it's hard to keep up. But we'll look forward to seeing how that goes. And maybe on the next podcast we'll check in with you and see how things are going.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Okay, so I would like to move on now to something that has me super excited. Really, 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 really keen to share this news with everybody. As we mentioned at the top of the podcast, Majors is going to be reviving, reinstigating, or maybe renewing, or even just coming up with something brand new in terms of starting a team endurance series from the beginning of next season. The Majors Endurance Championship is what we're looking at to be a 5-round series in the first half or the first few months of next year, largely based on the Majors 24 categories, rule sets, and so forth. Mike, jump in here at any point you like. But so we're looking at running LMDH and GT3 classes in a team event. In a league. I'm getting so excited just thinking about it. I can barely even talk. Yes. So some may have been aware that Majors used to run a team series like this. It kind of went away or became an affiliate series that then died for one reason or another. But I'm so excited to have this back. Team and endurance racing is absolutely what I love doing on iRacing, and so to be able to do this as part of a series in the majors is going to be fantastic. Mike, give us a rundown on where we're headed with this, and
absolutely
what people can look forward to. This is going to be great.
Absolutely. So for everybody who's listening to this podcast and who's getting ready to race in the 24, this is right up your alley. As Garen said, and this is all credit to Garen. He's been pushing for this, and I think it's overdue. I'm excited to have it's going to be called like he said, the MEC, so the Majors Endurance Challenge or Championship, and we are going to basically we're going to bookend the year with the Majors 24 in June, and then in January we're bringing back our second 24-hour or endurance race. It may not be a 24-hour every year, but our second 24-hour race of the year in December, right 2 weeks before Christmas, and that will be sort of the prologue or the kickoff for MEC season 1, which will be it'll be WEC themed. So like Garen said, we'll be using GTP and GT3 cars. We'll be using, we don't know the schedule yet, or we're not ready to announce it anyway, but it's going to be primarily European or WEC schedule for the season 1. The series will include live admins. The series will include safety cars. The series will include broadcast. The series will include multiple splits. So a lot of the things that you seem to like about the 24 will be replicated in a series that you can participate in. The races, we expect to have 5 of them for season 1. And the cadence of those will be roughly 3 weeks, a month apart between races. And each of the races will be between 3 and 8 hours long, most of them probably in that 4-hour window, which seems to be a nice sweet spot. Expect to have the races on Saturdays. Don't know the start time just yet, and that start time may in fact even be a little bit variable to be helpful to everybody throughout the world. But that's not all known yet. But we're just excited to tease this a little bit. So it's going to be the MEC, and super excited for it.
Yeah. So the reason behind the races of that duration is we want to make sure that teams of 2 can compete in this. We didn't want to make the races so long that you needed massive teams of 3 or 4 every time, because we know, particularly over the length of a season or a series, it's not always easy to get the same group of 4 or 5 people together for really long races. So within a team or within a group of people, you can, as long as you can find 2 people that can do a 4-hour race, which is obviously more than manageable. You can keep your entry going through the full season. We don't know exactly how the outline of this will work, but there will be divisions within the series. So there will be something for every skill level to race for. We don't know whether that'll be 2, 3, or how many divisions that we have, or exactly how that'll be based. But so there will be obviously an elite top division or championship, as well as some lower ones with obviously some restrictions on which drivers can go into those. So yeah, we'll flesh that out a bit more as we get closer to it. But yeah, everybody will have something to race for. As Mike said, there won't be a cap on the entries, and we'd really love to see this, with lots and lots of teams, competing at every race. And one of the really, really, really cool carrots for this is that across the series, one of the prizes for the teams that end up doing well across the series is you're going to be given free entry or paid entry into the Majors 24, which will follow on soon after the end of the series. So, in much the same way that obviously the WEC is a world championship and it goes around and everybody likes watching those. It is a series that's built around the Le Mans 24-hour, and so I suppose this, in a sense, this is doing the same thing. Obviously, Majors 24, massively cool event. Let's build a series around it and get everybody involved. Yeah, there's some things that have got us really, really excited, and obviously we're a few months away from from that all being finalised. But we wanted to tease that to you now, and there'll be a lot more information getting drip fed out as we come to it. But essentially, if you love the Majors 24, there's going to be a whole bunch of mini Majors 24s to do as part of a series from early next year. So I'm just super excited about it, and hopefully there's lots of other people that are keen to get involved in that as well. From a race entry fee perspective, it will be positioned to be extremely affordable. We can't do it for free because there's a lot involved, but it will be extremely affordable for teams to do. So this is not going to be prohibitive in any way in terms of people getting involved. Have I missed anything, Mike? Is there anything else you want to add on that?
That was perfect. That was excellent.
Excellent. Cool. So yeah, obviously, if anyone's got any questions about that's here listening live, feel free to jump in the iTeam questions about it. And we try to get those to the end. Otherwise, people listening to the podcast later on probably hold off on firing huge amounts of questions to us in the Discord this week, because we've got enough going on. But if and when we start getting a little bit more information out there, do feel free to post questions and suggestions on that series to us. Okay. So lastly, the safety car process for this week, which funnily enough will be the safety car process for the MEC. But the safety car process for this weekend we're going to go through that in more finite detail now. Obviously, in the podcast last week, we alluded to it that it would happen and whatever, but didn't really go into it too much because we wanted people to focus on their quality stuff. But it's going to be obviously for the top 4 splits. It's going to be really, really important that people know how this works because it's not utilizing the iRacing system, so you won't be getting on-screen instructions from the sim on what to do. So maybe Mike, let's first go through the top split process because that's a little different to the others. So if we give us some detail on how that's going to work, and then we'll look at the others.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so first thing I want to say is it's really not that complicated. We tried to make it as simple as possible while achieving what we wanted to achieve. So as Garen alluded to, we don't use the iRacing safety car process because it's just frankly borked on road. So no point in doing that. And it's okay. But we do in the top split. We do have 3 human-driven safety cars, so 1 each for GTP, LMP2, and GT3, where the class leader will be picked up by their particular safety car. So let me get into it real quick. So first of all, the number of cautions and when they occur are random. Okay. So only I know when the laps are that those are going to happen in each split. And in the top 4 splits, split 1 included, there can be no more than 4 and no fewer than 2 safety car periods. So nobody knows but me how many are in each split, and that includes split 1. So 2 to 4 safety cars. Their safety car will not happen inside the first 30 minutes or inside the last 30 minutes of the race. So just be aware of that. When the caution comes out, and this is really important, it's going to be announced by an admin in the session. So we'll be announcing full course caution. And so that's really important that everybody has their ears on and their voice chat enabled to at least have race control as somebody that they listen to. If failure to follow admin instructions during a safety car process is going to be very bad, likely either resulting in lapse penalties or possible DQ, depending on how bad it is. And this has happened before, so we don't want that to happen to you. If English is a problem, that's the language that the instructions are coming in. So just be aware. We're going to be using terms that are motorsport friendly. We do expect you to be able to decipher what we're saying, and again, we do expect you to have your ears on. So all commands will be coming from an admin over voice. We can't text chat you because we're in there. The admins that are not actually driving the safety cars are spectators essentially, and you won't see their text. So we'll be communicating with you via voice. Anyway, so once we announce the caution, your position is frozen, which means don't overtake anybody. Nobody should overtake you. You're going to slow down at a reasonable pace. This is laps are long at Le Mans, so no need to. You don't have to slam on the brakes. You don't have to get down to safety car speed immediately. You just gradually slow down. Stay in position. Really critically, and this is an important lesson that we've learned over the years, but the pits never, ever close. So again, we're not actually under a safety car process in the sim, so you won't be penalized by the sim for entering a closed pit because it won't close, and we won't close it virtually or manually either. So if you're near the pit when the safety car comes out, you can absolutely pit. If you want to hold out, you can absolutely hold out. And believe me, there are strategic reasons for both. So you're going to have to be, if you think there's no strategy involved with random safety cars, you're absolutely wrong. You need to be aware of where you are at, fuel-wise, where you are at position-wise, where the leader is at, whether or not you want to pit now or later. Because if you can get a lap back, you will definitely not lose a lap pitting, even under green. So just be aware of that. Pits never close. You can pit anytime you want. It's completely your choice. Once the caution comes out, the leader's going to slow down to about 60 kilometers per hour. And then they're going to turn on their pit limiter. That's an important point. So the overall leader in each class will turn on the pit limiter at 60 miles per hour, or 60 kilometers per hour. as the leaders of each class pass the pit entrance or pit exit, excuse me, they'll be picked up by the manual safety car, by the human-driven safety car. At that point, they can turn off their pit limiter and simply follow the pace of the safety car. Reason for that is we will keep the 3 classes in split 1 reasonably separated around the track. So if we feel like we need to get more distance between GTP and GT3, as an example, we could have the GTP pace car speed up a little bit, and so you simply follow their cue and maintain pace with the safety car, and you're all good while not passing. All the time that we're pedaling around the track under safety car, you stay to the right hand side of the track unless you're being waved around. So wave rounds is an important part of our safety car process, and it's probably the most confusing part of the safety car process for people, or people don't understand why it is. So this is not like a freebie for everyone. But once the safety cars have picked up their class and they've essentially started their formation lap, all 3 classes will begin the wave round process. So once you've had the chance to pit, we'll begin the wave round process. And what that means is simply this: if you are in front of your class leader when that happens, you will be waved around. If you are not in front of the class leader, you will not be waved around. So one person who's a lap down, one team that's a lap down might get waved. One team that's a lap down might not get waved. Somebody who's 3 laps down might get waved. Somebody who's 1 lap down might not get waved. So it's not a fairness issue. It's where are you on track? So you'll be sent if you're in front of your class leader. You will not be sent if you are not. It's not a lucky dog. It's not intended to be, like I said, a free lap giveaway. It's meant primarily to put the class leader at the front of the queue. As would happen anywhere else. So just understand that. Once we have a 5-minute timer essentially on the wave bys, and we'll expect the cars being waved by to go essentially at full pace. I mean, you don't have to drive crazy, but essentially at full pace around the track, trying to catch back up to your class. And if you're passing other classes, you will be on the left, they will be on the right. And but at the end of that 5-minute period, whether you're caught up or not, there's a good chance we're going to go back to racing. Now, again, all 3 classes will be separated on the track, which means you're not going to go back to green at the start-finish line. You could be going back to green any place. We will announce that that's going to be happening. The safety cars in front of the leader will pull off the road and then escape. We will count down 3, 2, 1, green flag. And at that point, the leader has it and you go. Again, the restarts can happen anywhere on the track. If for any reason you need to take a tow during the safety car process, like you've wrecked under caution, or for whatever reason, you will receive a 1 lap stop and hold, because it's possible when the cars are going that slow that, and depending on where you are on the track, that a tow could actually gain you significant amount of time. So none of those shenanigans are going to work, and if you tow, you'll receive a 1 lap penalty.
And to be fair, if you're towing at that point, something else has probably gone wrong anyway. So
we hope so. Obviously, yeah. I mean, the 1 lap penalty is not going to kill you, but it's meant to protect the integrity of the race.
Yeah.
All right. What did I miss there on the safety car for split 1?
No. I think that's all pretty clear. Like you said, the pits remain open the whole time. So,
Yep.
Yes, if you receive a wave by, you can still come into the pit lane on that lap where you are to catch up the back of your queue. However, and this is particularly for the GT3 class, there is that 5 minutes. So if you're coming into the pit lane and taking service during that wave by process, we're not going to wait for you to get back to the line before we throw it green. So just be aware of that. You are taking a little bit of a chance if you do choose to take service once that wave by process has started.
But if you got a lap back, it's probably worth it. So
absolutely, but
exactly. So just understand that. And sort of on that point, I'm glad you raised that. Garen, is you are not, because for people who do mostly road racing and don't do a lot of racing with cautions or safety cars in them, you're not entitled to the position that you are in if you pit. Meaning, let's say you're in the queue and we haven't even begun the wave around process. You're just in the queue, and the first lap by the pit entrance comes up, and you're like, "Hey guys, we're in our window. We need to pit now. We can't wait another lap." And so you're in fifth place. I'm just making this up, obviously. You're in fifth place in your class. You're in fifth place in line behind the 42 car in front of you, and you pit, and they don't. And the car behind you does not pit, and the car behind them does not pit. You're not entitled to your position where you were after you exit the pits. You will blend, and the blend line is the pit exit line. So when you exit the pits, if you are in front of a car that's on the track, you will blend in front of them. If you're behind a car that's on the tracks, you will blend in behind them. So we'll communicate that obviously during the race as well. But just be aware, for people who are not familiar with safety cars or don't get to do them very often. When you pit, you lose positions typically. So that's part of the strategy. All part of the strategy. So yep.
Yeah, and on that, with the blend line, I mean, normally it's very, very clear who gets the blend line first, and it's not going to be particularly close. If it is really, really close in terms of you and another car in the front, just have somebody else from your team maybe just look at the replay and come up with a call, and just be sensible about it. And if it's really, really, really close, so close that there's an argument over who was in front and where exactly the line was and whatever else, then just if you really, really need to, just maybe say something in the race, and if an admin has a chance, they'll look at it. But I mean, look, we're only talking about it being in front or behind a car, and unless we're in the last 40 minutes of the race, it's probably not going to make that big of a difference. So just be sensible about it. So
be sensible. Yep, good idea.
Yeah. So that's the split one safety car process. Obviously, where, like I said, each class has got its own car. Splits 2 and 4. It's slightly different. Where we're not using a manual safety car at all. And I'm happy to go through the differences if you like, Mike. Just if you feel like you need to take a breath.
Feel free.
Splits 2, 3, 4. Again, the number will be between 2 and 4. Only Mike will know when that is. And once it's time for it to go, for a caution to be pulled out or called out, there'll be prepare for safety car notice from the admins, and then a countdown to when the caution is. Now, a little bit of insight into how this is run. Typically, we will wait until the overall leader is approaching the start-finish area of the circuit before we throw this, purely because we don't want the leader to be engaging the pit limiter halfway around the track and then it causing concertinas with other people. Anyway, just so you know. So the overall leader will then be asked to slow down to the pit speed limit. The leader is still entitled to pit at this point if they want to. They can come into the pit. That's no problem whatsoever because the pits never close. Once the safety car is, or the safety car has been called, and there'll be a yellow, safety car, full course yellow notification from race control. There's no overtaking at that point. Doesn't matter if you're in a prototype and you're behind a GT3 car. You need to not pass them. You can maintain race pace until you catch the back of the safety car line, but you cannot. And when I say safety car line, I mean the queue of cars. But you cannot pass. So, unfortunately, sometimes that might mean that you were in a nose-to-tail battle with somebody and they just happened to pass or lap a GT3 car just before the safety car came out and you didn't. And you're going to lose a few seconds to them because they're going to get to the safety car line or to the pit lane a bit quicker than you. That's just one of those things. Definitely no overtaking at that point. Once all cars have caught up to the safety car line, and the classes will be mixed at this point, that's when we consider the safety car lap to have commenced. Now, in these splits, we aim to do the safety car within one lap of the circuit. It's close to, I think, 8. I'm trying to remember from last year. It's 8, 9, maybe even up to 10 minutes at pit lane speed to get around the track. So there's plenty of time for us to sort all of this out in essentially one lap. In the rules, there is a provision, if you read them, for us to do a second lap if we need to, if something goes wrong or there's arguments over who was the leader or something, then there's provisions in there for it. But we try and do this over a single lap. So once we've got everybody in line, people have pitted, people have not pitted. It's completely up to them. Once we get to between the two chicanes on the back straight, or 5 minutes into the safety car lap, we will start the wave around process. Now, obviously, in the top split, as Mike said, if you are in front of your leader, you get to go around. That is the case in these other splits as well, with the addition of, if you are in front of the overall leader, you will also get waved around in the line. So if the overall leader is told engage pit limiter, you are now in for taking the position of or acting as the safety car, and then they choose to pit, and somebody gets trapped behind another car doing the safety pit lane speed limit, you will also be waved around. But anyway, simple case. The purpose of the wave by, as Mike alluded for the other splits, is if you are trapped in front of your class leader, you will get waved around because you are still on that same lap as them. Or even if you're multiple laps down, if you're in front of the leader, you'll get waved around because you should take up your position at the back of the queue, so that the leader of each class should be the first car for that class within the line. Because we are only using a single safety car line in splits 2 through 4, the classes will be mixed. We do not do a class sort. So be aware that on restarts, things can be a little crazy. Things can be a little bit hectic. You need to be sensible. Don't just try and start overtaking cars in places that you wouldn't normally, just because things are all concertinaed up or whatever. Be sensible. Be careful. We've seen massive incidents at this point before. It's just one of those. You just got to be sensible about it. Don't come saying, "Oh, well, it's not my fault. There was something. I got caught behind slower cars, and so I was trying to do what." That doesn't matter. Just be sensible about it. Sorry, was that saying something, Mike? No. As Mike said for the split one as well, we also have the any car that undertakes a tow will get a 1 lap stop and hold, just because when you're doing a 10-minute lap at pit lane speed, you could tow and you'll actually be able to gain yourself a lap doing it. So it's just to cut that out from being able to happen. Yep. I think that's about everything we need to run through with that one. Again, all of that's in the rules. Every step of the process, there'll be instructions from race control. Just follow what they're saying. Know how it works. Know where you are on the track in relation to your class leader and the overall leader, so that you can get your strategy right. And
exactly.
Hopefully, it all works well for everybody.
Exactly. I see a lot of more people in the rules document right now, so thank you for reading those rules. The only other thing I would add to that is the primary reason we don't split the classes in splits 2 through 4 is just time, because we don't have a human-driven safety car to help with that process, and we don't want to elongate the safety car process for each one any longer. Everybody loves the idea of safety cars, but nobody really wants to drive at pit limiter speed for 20 minutes, 30 minutes at a time. It's not super exciting, so we try to balance that the best we can, and so we just leave the classes mixed. And then the only slight revision that I would make is if at any point you find yourself because there's only one line of all 3 classes mixed together, if at any point you find yourself in front of the overall leader, you are immediately waved by. You don't have to wait for any instructions. You should have been catching up. Let's put it that way. Or if the overall leader pits, and you were somebody who is not in that same class and your lap's down, but you were the car right behind the overall leader and you don't pit, you immediately take your lap. You don't have to wait for any instructions. Again, if you're not the overall leader, you should never be at the front of the queue. Let's put it that way. So if you find yourself in that position, easy call, just drive around. Easy. Yep.
Yeah. And thank you, Rod, for this prompt. When the wave by process is occurring, race control will say that the wave bys are about to start, and then they will individually give each car number in the order that they are in the queue instructions to take the wave by. You'll be given a few seconds to start that. then they will be moving on to the next car and giving them the instruction to wave by. If you miss your turn and cars go past you, and then you realize, oh, they told me that I could take a wave by, you are not entitled to take those positions back. If you're late and other cars taking wave bys have gone past you, and then you take yours, you need to maintain the position that you now have on the track. Similarly, if you're told that you can take a wave by and it gets to the green flag and you haven't taken it, or you didn't realize it, or you didn't have a spotter to tell you that you needed to take a wave by, it's too late. That's, you were given the instruction, you were given the chance to do it. Race control will do absolutely everything, and I don't think we've had any instances of missing a wave by for anybody last year. There is more than enough time that if for whatever reason we were to miss a wave by for somebody, you can raise it. But I think that the people that are doing this have done it enough that won't happen. But there is enough time that we would be able to rectify that. But yeah, once you're given your slot to take the wave by, you need to take it, or you're losing positions as a result of it. Thank you for that prompt, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Okay.
Well, we want to open her up to questions, or?
So we've got one again from Ryan about MEC, and he was asking which classes would be. Yeah, it'll be GTP and GT3, Ryan, because we're mirroring this first season on largely WEC. Which only runs as two classes. Obviously, LMP2 still makes its appearance at the Majors 20. At the Majors 24 as well, but also at Le Mans. Get those in order of priority. The series itself will not have LMP2 cars in it. That's not to say that somebody that potentially does well in the series wouldn't be able to use their entry for an LMP2 in the Majors 24. Or even swap classes. But at this point, probably just two classes is what we'll look at in season 1. And I can see a follow-up question or comment coming from Ron.
I see that. If anybody else in the audience has a question, this is a good time to ask, and it can be about anything really. But happy to answer any questions you have in the ITM questions channel. So if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll find the channel to ask the questions, and we're happy to answer them for you.
Yes. So the question from Ryan, will Le Mans be getting left as a standalone race? Yes, it will not be part of the MEC. It will be tied with the MEC in terms of, like we said, getting paid entries into it as part of the MEC prizes and those sorts of things, and obviously running to the same rules or very, very similar rules. But no, it will still be a standalone race. It won't actually be part of the MEC. One more question, or a couple more questions coming in. I can see being typed at the moment. So yeah, keep sending them in, guys. We've got a little bit more time that we can spend on this. So yeah.
I need some Jeopardy music.
Or we could just cut the dead air out in the replay.
I definitely could. Yeah, I just want it now for my entertainment.
Well, I might have one. Any thoughts on what kind of tracks you're looking at for the MEC schedule at this point?
Direction. The theme will be WEC. So think of any track that the WEC has ever gone to, and that's the scope of where we might go to. If that's what you were asking, Lynn.
Yeah, I know you say all of the dates are to be determined. I'm just thinking like what kind of pool of tracks you're thinking of.
Yep,
to start
that's
with.
the pool. Yep, that's the pool. So it's a big pool, to be honest. So yep, we won't be more specific than that, and we don't know. I mean, we've got some ideas on where we want to go for some of them, but definitely don't know them all.
Yeah, so it could end up being we do 4 tracks that either are on this year's WEC schedule or have been on the WEC schedule in the past, and we throw one other one in that we think would be a really cool place to go take those cars or something like that. Definitely the majority will be tracks that have been part of the WEC either now or in the past.
Yep.
Another good couple of questions here. The safety car test, will the practice be just for top split or will it be for all the splits? So I think that's probably a good, within that session, Mike, we might do a run of both. So we'll test it with the manually driven cars, and then we can do one in the way that splits 2 and 4 will run.
Yep, exactly right.
Yeah,
we'll do both.
There's nothing stopping us doing both of those within the same session. So
correct.
The way that they work. So
exactly right. Exactly right. So
Ryan, we will not be running a 2-class endurance race at Knock Hill very much.
We're going to do Snetterton.
Oh no, that's worse.
Club circuit, yeah.
In go-karts. And so and as far as the just a sort of follow-up question that you didn't ask, Bruce, but anybody can join the safety car practice sessions. It doesn't matter whether you're in splits 1 through 4 or if you're in split 13. Once I send that information out with the passwords, anybody can get into it. It's to be totally honest, it's more for our benefit. It's more for just a practice run for the safety car drivers and for the admins, just to kind of get knock the rust off. Like I said, it's really not that complicated. Usually the first safety car that we do in whichever split that happens to fall in is the worst one, because we're just getting our bearings, just to be completely honest. And then we're like, oh yeah, this is how we do this, right? And then we're back to it. So that'll be the other nice thing about having the MEC season all for 6 months prior, is that we'll be well practiced on doing it. But it's no disasters. It'll go fine.
Yeah, it's a great point, actually. The participating in the MEC will give everybody a chance to understand the rule sets and things, and even things like pre-qualification and how those systems work, which obviously a lot of people have had their first experience with this week. So getting involved in the team series, even if you can't do all 5, even if you just come along and do a couple, it'll be a good way of making sure that you're across the way that everything works. Cameron, yes, MEC will not be capped. So, if we had enough for, 4 splits or 5 splits in any given MEC race, that's what we'll run.
Exactly.
Look, and I would love for it to be that deep. And if it is, that'll be interesting in terms of how we live admin all of them. Maybe we go to a system like what we've got for the 24, where we have a centralized race control. But yes, it will be unlimited splits for the MEC, and the more splits that we get, the more support we get for it, the better it'll be.
Got a question hanging out in the meeting stage chat room. 40 asks, will there be safety cars in split 1s for incidents as well, or is it only the quote-unquote preset ones?
Right, just the preset ones. So so there could be a massive crash and there will not be a safety car as a result.
Gotcha. Another question from Jared Murphy in that same channel. Will MEC be a 2-driver minimum?
Yep, exactly. Do you envision a maximum, Garen? What would you want to set it at? Or we don't have to disclose that either.
I mean, I hadn't really thought about it. But
two minimum. Like I said, most of the races are only 4 hours. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'd struggle to get more than probably 5 in, even if you changed it every stop in a 4-hour race.
Exactly. But 2 will be the minimum. Yep. We're looking at roughly 4-hour races on average, Bruce, for the MEC races. We might have 1 or more that are slightly longer, but it's not going to go crazy.
There'll be no 10, 12, or 24-hour racing stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Speaking of driver,
Bruce.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Bruce. That's the aim, is that any car would be able to compete in any of these races with 2 drivers, so that pools of teams So maybe you've got 4 or 5 people in your little endurance racing team that you like to race together. On any given weekend that these races are occurring, you can get by with 2 of your drivers being available to complete the race. So that's the aim.
Which kind of leads into the next question. Jared has another one. Will it have to be the same 2 for all 5 rounds, or can you do a little mixing and matching?
You'll definitely be able to mix and match. Whether we dictate that you need to nominate your pool of drivers at the beginning of the season or not has not been determined. Also, we haven't decided whether, obviously racing one race in one car and then a different race in another car. We haven't finalised whether that would be possible as well. So that will come out well in advance, obviously, but haven't finalised that yet.
We got a Freudian slip question from Cameron. He said, or maybe he was just like trying to subliminally tell me these are not droids that I'm looking for. He says entry free for MEC, but he meant fee. Sure, you did. We don't know the exact number yet, Cameron, but it'll be cheaper than the 24 in terms of like per race for sure, way cheaper. And we want it to be. I don't want there to be any reason for people not to do it. Let's put it that way. And then the Ryan's question, which is sort of along that same line, which is, will the fee be per driver or for the team? It'll be for the team. Can be paid by anybody. We're talking about, having the ability to pay a fee per race or per the season, maybe allowing to do both, maybe with a discount for paying for the season. But again, it's not going to be a lot either way. So more to come on that. Karen says I meant fee. I know you did.
If there's no other questions from the channel, Lynn, that you've been monitoring, this might be a good time to wrap it up because we've been going for over an hour now. So we might have either put some people to sleep or had them throw their podcast device of choice out the window of their car if they're listening there by now. I suppose I'll just wrap up by saying, everyone that came live, thanks for coming in and posing the questions. That's been great. And if there are any questions from people listening to the podcast, maybe if you're happy to field them, afterwards, but if you could put them in the ITM questions, not in the Majors 24 questions channel, let's try and keep that just for the Majors 24 questions. Anything about MEC, chuck it in the ITM questions for now. Just so that we can have that bit of segregation. And apologies if we don't answer them straight away. There's plenty of stuff going on around the 24-hour race for the next few days. To anyone listening before the race, good luck. I hope it goes well and you get what you want out of it. Anybody listening to this after the race, sorry, probably was mostly irrelevant. It's been great so far. It's the biggest event that Majors has ever had. Good luck to everyone. Thanks for your support so far, and have a great one.